Captain Chesley Sullenberger, famous for landing a U.S. Airways Airbus A320 in the Hudson River after a bird strike, shut down both of the airplane's engines and relied heavily on his intuition to try and save the 155 passengers and crew on board. After hearing the geese hit the engines, he needed to take a few seconds to tap into his intuition so that he could come up with the best chance of landing the plane safely and saving everyone on board.
In the first seconds that I didn't have time to consciously think about, but that were in the back of my mind, that were immediately accessible to me, so that helped me frame this decision, frame these choices. Because you have to realize that this was a novel and unanticipated event for which we'd never specifically trained. In fact, in our flight simulators, it's not possible to practice a water landing. You can't do it. It's not possible. Right. And so the only training that we'd ever gotten for a water landing was a theoretical classroom discussion.
Even though taking these few seconds to listen to his intuition were critical to him being able to find the right solution to land the plane safely, in the movie Sully, Captain Sullenberger, who was played by Tom Hanks, was heavily criticized for not acting right away after the geese hit the engines, with simulations showing that if he had acted right away, he would have made it safely to an alternate airport rather than landing in the Hudson River, which destroyed the aircraft. But for any pilot in an emergency situation, taking this time to tap into your intuition is absolutely necessary to make the right decision, just like it has for Captain Jason Wocks, who flies 787s for a living.
You'd never go against your intuition, ever, when you're operating the plane. The Sully example is a perfect example of that. I don't think anyone really trains for two engines failing like that. It's such a rare event. If it happens to you, the first thing is what's happening, because you don't know. Once you recognize it is real, you wouldn't believe it for another few seconds. So then once it becomes real, is this something that we did? Can we restart these engines? And at the same time as all that's happening, intuitively, you've been flying planes for years, you got a pretty good sense of how far you can make it. And then it's a matter of doing the thing that's the safest possible based on what you've got. If he wasn't a human, he could have landed somewhere else. I think those simulations, if I remember right, they were based on the pilots that were operating the simulators, knowing what was going to happen and doing what they needed to right away, right? It was the best chance of not definitely crashing into a building, killing everyone. He did a phenomenal job.
When you find yourself in a stressful situation, you need to take the time to tap into your intuition to make the right decision for that particular situation, especially if it is one that has incredible consequences for your brand. Jean-Pierre Taillant also needed to take a good amount of time to listen to his intuition after being woken up at 4 a.m. to the news that one of his employees had shot 3 others. With his lawyers telling him what he should be doing, the decision he needed to make would have a huge impact on his company's brand, with him revealing what that decision was in this video.